Now, recognized as one of the greatest and most revered composers of West European music tradition, Ludwig van Beethoven was born on December 17, 1770 in Bonn, Germany. Now, in the 1700s, when Duke Dennis was just 5 years old, the piano or pianoforte was just in its infancy, following its invention from Bartolome Cristofori. Now, this new instrument was basically a straight ripoff of the harpsichord. Like Mr. Cristofori was like, "Hey bro, let me get the homework real quick. Yeah, I got you, but just don't make it too obvious." And the piano was invented. Now, compared to the modern piano, the forte piano, the name of the earlier variation, had softer, less sustained tones compared to its modern counterpart. Now, with less keys and more sensitive actions, the forte piano allowed a rather limited range of expression. Now, by the time of Beethoven's first composition in 1783, at just 12 years old, Beethoven published his first work, 9 variations on a march by Ernst Christoph Dressler. Now, this establishes sheer talent as a potential composer at the age where most kids are ripping vapes. Now, a young Beethoven was initially taught by his father, Johann van Beethoven, and later by Christian Neef, and it was under Neef's tutelage that he published his first works at the age of 12. Now, Beethoven had a very dysfunctional family growing up. His father, who initially forced him into music, was an abusive alcoholic dad, and his mom was often neglectful and as protective as a dark princess shield. Now, his family also went through financial struggles, and upon the death of his mother in 1787, a young Beethoven became solitary and socially awkward. Now, at this dire circumstance, Beethoven found relief with the upper-class family of Helene von Breuning, whose children he loved, befriended, and taught piano to. Now, within this time period, Beethoven was also appointed a continuo player in the Bonn Opera. Now, in 84, Beethoven was sent to Vienna to study with Mozart, who grandly proclaimed that, quote, "I am the best in the world. This young man will make a great name for himself in the world." Now, unfortunately, this visit was cut short of the news of his mother's death. Now, for the next 5 years, Beethoven remained at Bonn, playing viola in a theater orchestra. Now, it was at this point where Beethoven started to build crucial relationships. The von Breuning family was a home that he never had, and not only did it provide him warmth that his dad's cold beer never gave him, but several very valuable connections. Now, through Madame von Breuning, several very wealthy pupils, including Graf Waldstein, a member of the highest Viennese aristocracy, became deep admirers of Beethoven's playing. In 1790, chance would have it that another great composer rolled around, Joseph Haydn. Now, just passing through Bonn on his way to London, Mr. Haydn took a whiff at Beethoven's works and was instantly hooked, offering at once Beethoven a chance to be his pupil. Now, of course, Beethoven accepted this offer, like me accepting a Chick-fil-A job application. Now, in autumn of 1792, while the French was having a gentle argument with themselves, Beethoven left Bonn for Vienna, never to return again. Now, shortly before departing, he caught wind that his father was also dead, and with this, he joined the Techno Blade Orphan Club.
I see an unsupervised child in Walmart, and I just BAM! Jump kick.
Now, Beethoven at this point had amassed a considerable reputation in Germany as a piano virtuoso, meaning he wasn't a fucking potato. Now, Britannica writes that Mozart was one of the finest improvisers at his age, and by all accounts, Beethoven had surpassed him. Now, because of this overwhelming reputation, the Viennese aristocracy glazed him from the moment he stepped foot in Vienna. Now, of course, Graf Waldstein, the aristocrat from his Bonn days, paved Beethoven's way to financial stability. Now, in Vienna, Beethoven was backed up from various powerful patrons, figures such as Dutch-born diplomat Gottfried van Sweden and Karl Alois, the second Prince Lichnowsky, who had faithful backing of Mozart and by association Beethoven until his death. Now, as a composer, Beethoven still had many technical problems to overcome, and it soon became very apparent that Haydn was not his best option, and so Beethoven pulled an advanced maneuver called lying. Now, Johann Albisberger and Antonio Salieri did just this, aiding him with comprehensive technique and vocal composition respectively. Now, once buffed up in 1795, Beethoven made his first public appearance as a pianist in Vienna. Now, he played one concerto of his own creation and one by Mozart, and distinctively published his 3 trios for piano, violin, and cello opus 1. Now, this marked what many historians believe as the beginning of Beethoven's three periods of work, distinctly categorized by Wilhelm von Lenz. Beethoven's large output of music can be attributed to three general intervals. Now, before we talk about this, let's talk about Beethoven and his women. Now, while not a single pianist currently alive today has ever spoken to the opposite gender, Beethoven was quite the ladies' man. In 1801, he wrote to his old friend Franz Wegler saying, quote, "A dear sweet girl who loves me and whom I love," which of course translates to,
"You are thicker than a snicker, heavy like a Chevy."
Now, he was referring to Countess Giulietta Gucciardi, a piano pupil and cousin of two others, Therese and Josephine. Now, as a pianist himself, Beethoven was naturally not immune to everything and pulled what is known as a simp move, dedicating to Giulietta Piano Sonata in C sharp minor opus 27 No. 2, known as Moonlight Sonata. Now, unfortunately, the girl countered his offer by marrying another man like Adam 22. Now, Beethoven was no simp and directly went to the next girl in sight, Therese Malfetti. Now, in 1810, a 40-year-old Beethoven proposed to a 19-year-old Malfetti. Nah, bro was spawn camping. Now, anyways, the proposal was rejected and she would go down as the possible recipient of Bagatelle No. 25 in A minor, commonly known as Für Elise. Now, Beethoven's life is like way too long, so this will be part 1 of hopefully 2 coming out next week. And I want to appreciate each and every one of you watching right now as we are on the brink of 10K. Yeah! Let's get it!
I'ma lock out, I'ma go low with a foe, I'ma pop out, men go low to the flow with my